Nissan was one of the first mainstream brands to bring us an electric car with the Nissan Leaf. Back then, the Leaf only got between 73 to 100 miles on a full charge, so it wasn't crazy impressive. The current Leaf has bumped that up with up to 215 miles of range, but for most EV shoppers, that's still not good enough. People want more range, something north of 300 miles, and Nissan has an answer. My name is Omar, and this is the Nissan Ariya Grande. It's called Ariya. Sometimes things just come out of my mouth and I don't know how to control them. Nissan Ariya. Alright, the Ariya. This is an all-new electric SUV from Nissan, similar to the size of something like the Hyundai Ioniq 5 or the Ford Mustang Mach-E. So what are you working with here? Well, you're working with a lot of trims with many different range and performance figures. Up on the screen right now, you can see a list of all the different Ariyas that you can get with their different range and performance numbers. It's kind of all over the place, but the range numbers range between 205 up to 305 miles, which you can only get on the Venture Plus. As for performance, you can get a single motor setup with front-wheel drive or a dual motor setup with all-wheel drive. Output ranges anywhere between 214 horsepower all the way up to 389 horsepower, with the 0 to 60 times ranging from a very slow 7.2 seconds to a pretty quick 4.8 seconds. The one that I'm driving here is the Empower Plus. This one gets a single motor setup with 238 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. The range is estimated at 289 miles on a full charge with a 0 to 60 time of 7.2 seconds. So it's not super EV quick. You do get a little bit of that EV jolt when you floor it, and then that quickly disappears. So the best performing and range combo can only be had with the Engage Plus eForce trim with 389 horsepower and 272 miles of range. Not to mention that one is $2,500 less than the Empower Plus that I'm driving here. So now that we know all about the power, performance, and range, let's talk about how this really drives. The first thing that I noticed when I got inside the Ariya is that it's extremely quiet inside. Nissan did a great job of insulating this cabin from unwanted noise. That said, the one that I'm driving here isn't anything particularly exciting in terms of performance. Even when you have it in sport mode, the power comes on for about 2 to 3 seconds and then it instantly drops and the acceleration becomes slower. Don't get me wrong though, you do have enough power and acceleration to quickly switch lanes and take somebody over on the highway, so you're good there. In terms of ride quality, this isn't bad at all. It has a very smooth and comfortable ride, one of the better riding EV SUVs out there in my opinion. You also have one pedal drive. In here it's called E-Step, and the brakes aren't too shabby for something in this segment. I wish they were a little tighter and firmer, but they're not bad. That said, if comfort and cabin quietness is something that's really important to you when buying an EV, I highly recommend test driving this. In terms of handling and steering, it's just sort of there. It's not too engaging, and that's not entirely a bad thing. You see, as car reviewers, we love to talk about the lack of driving excitement, but for the majority of shoppers out there that will be buying this, they don't really care, and for them, they will get along just fine. If I compared this to the ride of something like the Mustang Mach-E or the Hyundai Ioniq 5 or even the Kia EV6, I would say that the Ariya is probably the smoothest out of the bunch. If you're looking for something that handles really well or has some more power and excitement, you can find that in the competition. However, if you're looking for a solid EV SUV that will get you from point A to point B in a comfortable manner and still have decent range, the Ariya isn't bad at all. The visibility from the driver's point of view is great. The interior itself feels very spacious, and like always, Nissan seats are some of the best in the game. And I gotta say, this is one of the better looking EV SUVs out there. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below, but I'm really digging the styling of this. It's not trying too hard to look like an EV or something too different from a regular gasoline powered vehicle. I personally like it when EVs don't go, hey, look at me, I'm trying to save Mother Nature. Size-wise, it's very similar to the Murano, and even the design, the overall feel of it, I feel like this could be the perfect next iteration of the Murano. I'm really liking the front end styling with these slim LED headlamps and daytime running lights that shape out the grille. And speaking of the grille, of course, you don't have one, so all you have here is a really nice pattern along with the Nissan badge that lights up at nighttime. The side profile of the Ariya is also pretty sleek. I have the optional 19-inch wheels here that will cost you an extra $1,900, and they don't look too bad. Your charging port is right here on the front passenger side, and speaking of charging, the Ariya can go from 10 to 80% on a DC fast charger in 40 minutes. At-home charging using a level 2 setup can take between 10.5 to 14 hours depending on the Ariya that you go for, so it's not the quickest charging EV out there, unlike the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6, which are much faster when it comes to charging. From the back, the Ariya looks pretty solid and beefy. You've got this really sharp LED taillight bar that most cars have now these days. Every car does that whole light bar thing now. And you have a slightly sloping roofline to give it that more modern look, but yeah, overall, I don't hate the looks of this at all. That said, let's talk about this interior because I really like it. As soon as I got in here, I was quite blown away by the amount of space that you have. Even in the front, you have this really wide open flat floor, so you can really spread out and relax. As a passenger, of course, you should only be spreading out and relaxing as a driver only when you're charging. But yeah, again, just like every other Nissan, the seats here on the Ariya are super comfortable. Nissan has one of the most comfortable seat games in the segment, and the Ariya doesn't disappoint. Heated front seats are kind of standard on all Ariyas. I believe they only disappear on the Venture Plus trim. If you want ventilated front seats, those are only standard on the Platinum Plus. My test model has powered front seats with the driver's seat memory settings. I believe the passenger seat is only powered on the higher trims and not on the lower ones. Now, there are a few clever things Nissan has done to make use of the space in this cabin. First up, the center console is actually a sliding center console. You can use these buttons right here to slide it forward and back, and Nissan says that they refer to this as a moving coffee table because even the rear passengers can use the space if you have it set all the way back. If you hit this button right here, out comes a hidden table/storage that folds out from the middle. You can use it as a table for your phone or wallet, or you can slide this cover back and use it as a hidden storage and close it up. And one last thing to point out here before we move into the tech, I absolutely love these touch capacitive buttons that you have embedded here into the wood trim. That's a really nice touch, and they aren't too difficult to use at all. They've worked every single time I've pushed them. Now, tech-wise, all Ariyas come standard with this center 12.3-inch touchscreen display. It has the latest Nissan infotainment system that I last saw on the Altima that I tested, and it's pretty straightforward and simple to use once you get the hang of it. Of course, this being an EV, you do have some EV sections in here. Although, if you're like most people, you'll just hang out in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which are standard and wireless on all Ariya trims. You also have this 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, and it's very sharp and very informative. It's got a ton of different views and themes along with a full screen map view, and it's not too bad at all. As for driver assist tech with Nissan Safety Shield 360 and Pro Pilot Assist, you get almost everything as standard. You have adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, lane change assist, blind spot warning, high beam assist, and much more. This thing can also park itself, and you also have some hands-off driving capability. Camera game wise, of course you have a rear view camera, but you can also get a 360 surround view. Alright, so we've learned a lot about the Ariya Grande, so let's pull over and check out the practicality that you're working with this electric SUV. Alright, so let's start off with the second row. Hop in the back and you're working with a total of 37 inches of legroom back here. I'm about 6 foot tall. That is my seating position. As you can see, I have a good amount of room. It's a very comfortable place to be and sit during long road trips or while you're just charging up. Now, I believe every Ariya except the Venture Plus trim gets heated rear seats as standard, so that's pretty solid. All right, let's check out the cargo capacity. You can pop open the tailgate by using a button located right here underneath the Nissan logo. And once you get it open, you're working with a total of about 23 cubic feet behind the second row. And with the second row down, you have about 60 cubic feet, so that's not too bad. All right, before we talk about pricing and whether or not if you should buy an Ariya, let me put in a few important daily ownership highlights that I'd love to show all of you. You have a total of 4 cup holders, 2 in the front right there, and then you have 2 in the back right here in the center armrest. Here are the keys to the Ariya, pretty nice and simple. Door close sound from the outside, and from the inside, solid. Charging game-wise, you have a USB-C and A port right here underneath the center console, and you also have a wireless charger right here in the armrest. Those sitting in the back have a USB-C and A port right there. And of course, let's do an indicator and horn sound test. Indicator first. Pretty nice and simple. Now for the horn sound. Oh yeah, solid. All right, so if you're in the market for an electric SUV, should you consider putting the Ariya on your shopping list? I definitely think so, but this does face some strong competition from the likes of the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6, and the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Not to mention you have some other EV SUVs on the way like the Chevy Equinox EV, but the Ariya stands out with its stylish exterior, spacious interior that's really well done, and a decent amount of range. Pricing for the Ariya starts at $43,190 for the base Engage model and goes all the way up to around $60,000 for the Platinum plus eForce. I've put the pricing list up here on the screen along with the different range options. So as you can see, if you want to hit 300 plus miles of range on the Ariya, you'll have to go for the Venture Plus for around $47,000, which honestly isn't too bad. But yeah, this is the Nissan Ariya, and if you're in the market for an EV SUV, I definitely recommend that you take this for a quick test drive. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace. I do want to drive the 380 whatever horsepower Ariya and see how that feels in terms of overall performance, because it should be pretty exciting. Although the steering, again, it's kind of lifeless. It's just there. Nothing really to go crazy to talk about. It's just very light and doesn't do much for the overall driving experience. But again, if you don't care about that, it's okay. You'll still enjoy driving this.